Hello, friends. Welcome back to Senior Money USA. I'm really glad you're here today because if you've been watching your retirement plans closely, this is one of those times you'll want to pay a little extra attention. A recent unanimous Supreme Court decision is sending ripples across the country, and it does affect retirement-related rules for millions of Americans, including people just like you and me. And I know retirement can already feel complicated without surprise legal decisions seeming. To shake things up, which is exactly why today we're going to go through it slowly and clearly so you can understand what it may mean for your savings, your pension, and your Social Security. No confusing jargon, no rushing, just friendly. Straightforward guidance to help you make sense of these changes. By the end of this video, you'll have a much better idea of what actions, if any, you may want to consider to help keep your retirement on solid ground, and I'll focus on simple. Practical ideas so you can feel more confident and in control. So get comfortable, maybe pour yourself a cup of tea, and let's work through this together. And if you find this information useful, please tap the like button because it really helps this community grow and allows me to keep bringing you updates that matter. Now that we've set the stage, let's gently walk through what's happening and why it matters to you. Because hearing that the Supreme Court has issued a 9-0 ruling that affects retirement rules in every state can feel overwhelming and may make you wonder, what does this mean for me? Or am I going to have to redo all of my plans? And I want you to take a deep breath because we're going to untangle it step by step in a way that makes sense. Imagine you've spent decades working, saving, maybe helping your grandkids, and thoughtfully preparing for your later years. You followed the rules and tried to be careful, and then suddenly a headline makes it sound like everything has changed. That's understandably unsettling, but the encouraging part is that understanding the decision does not have to be frightening. Knowing what it really says can actually put you in a stronger position, and that's what we're going to focus on today. At a high level, this unanimous ruling, yes, all the justices agreed, is about how certain retirement-related policies are applied, touching things like public pensions, elements of Social Security planning, and some state-specific retirement programs. And while the headlines can sound dramatic, the core idea is more about adding clarity and consistency, even if it feels sudden when you first hear it. If you've ever been frustrated by the fine print on your retirement benefits, this decision is aimed at making some of those rules more uniform across the country. Though it does not create a rigid one-size-fits-all system because each state will still have some flexibility, which is why paying attention now is useful. Small adjustments today can lead to a smoother retirement tomorrow. To make this more concrete, think about a friend I know, we'll call her Mary, who retired 5 years ago and has been living comfortably, tending her garden and taking short trips with her husband. When she heard about the Supreme Court decision, her first reaction was panic. Are my savings safe? She asked, and I explained that this ruling is not about taking away benefits people have already earned, but about how future rules are applied, especially for those still planning or possibly changing their saving strategies. An easy way to picture it is to think of retirement planning like a quilt you've been sewing for many years. Each patch is a choice you made: when to start Social Security, how much to save, which funds to invest in, and how to use state benefits. This decision is like someone slightly adjusting the pattern going forward. It doesn't pull apart the quilt you've already created, but it does mean some future patches may shift, and understanding where those shifts might be is the key to keeping your quilt strong and secure. One of the most common questions I hear is, will this change my monthly payments? And in the vast majority of cases, your current payments are not going to be taken away, which is a critical point to let sink in. What you've already earned and are receiving remains yours. What's more likely to be affected are things like future contributions, eligibility rules, or age thresholds in certain programs. So while it might feel like a big shakeup at first, the reality is often more manageable. And I'll walk you through the main areas where changes may appear so you can plan calmly. Timing is another area that often makes people nervous. If you're already receiving retirement income, any impact tends to be indirect. You aren't going to see your check simply vanish. But if you're a few years away from retiring or still contributing to state-linked programs, this is a good moment to tune in, because even a small tweak in your plan now can save you a lot of stress later, much like checking your tire pressure before a long trip. where small adjustments keep the whole journey smoother. Here's a practical tip you can use right away. Gather your retirement account statements, your Social Security estimate, and any pension paperwork you've received. And spend a few minutes comparing what you think you understand with what is actually written there. This way, when your state or program administrators roll out specific details about how they're adapting to the Supreme Court's guidance, you'll already have a baseline and won't be starting from 0 and even 15. Minutes of this kind of review can make a huge difference. I also want to reassure you that it is completely normal to feel a mix of anxiety and curiosity when major decisions like this are announced. Many seniors feel that at first. But knowledge really is power here, because by understanding the ruling and taking proactive, reasonable steps, you can use this moment to strengthen your retirement. A bit like discovering that a bridge on your usual route has been reinforced before you ever need to cross it, which actually makes the path ahead safer. Some of you may be thinking about your investments. Perhaps you've been cautious about touching your 401k or IRA because of market fluctuations or policy uncertainty. And while this ruling doesn't decide what happens in the markets, it can influence how certain accounts are treated in your state, which is why sitting down with a trusted financial advisor who understands the new rules is such a smart move. Sometimes a simple phone call can bring a lot of peace of mind. Let me share another example about someone we'll call Bob, who just turned 68 and had planned to keep working part-time for a few years before fully retiring when he heard about the decision. He worried it might affect his ability to collect some state benefits if he delayed retirement, but after going over his situation carefully, we found that with a few modest changes, like adjusting when and how he contributes, he could still maximize his benefits without unnecessary stress. That's the power of staying informed. It's also important to remember that change, while uncomfortable, can sometimes open doors, depending on how states adjust their programs. Some seniors may newly qualify for options they didn't have before, or find legitimate ways to boost their monthly income, and that's why keeping an open mind, reviewing your choices, and asking questions matters so much through all of this. Please keep one core point in mind. This ruling is not about stripping away what you've already earned. That remains your safety net. The adjustments are aimed at future planning and at making rules more consistent and fair across states. So you can think of it as a roadmap being redrawn with clearer signs and markings, not as a road being closed. I also know that paperwork can feel intimidating: forms, statements, letters from agencies, but most of the technical changes will be handled behind the scenes by the institutions themselves. And your benefits are not going to disappear just because you don't complete a form perfectly. Your main job is to stay aware and to review your statements from time to time, so that if something does change, you can ask about it promptly. As we continue, I'd like you to pull back and think about the bigger picture, because retirement is about much more than money. It's about having peace of mind, comfort, and the freedom to enjoy life after years of work, which is exactly why staying informed about legal and policy changes matters. When you understand the rules, you're not just protecting an income stream, you're protecting your lifestyle, your family, and your plans. Before we look at some more specific examples of how this could play out in different states, take a moment to imagine your ideal retirement day. Maybe it's gardening, walking on the beach, or playing with your grandchildren, and remember that the decisions you make now, guided by a better understanding of this ruling, are like smoothing and paving the road toward those days. One thing I often tell viewers is that even when headlines sound frightening, most changes become manageable when you take them slowly, one piece at a time. And that's exactly what we're doing here, so that by the end of this, you'll feel more confident, more informed, and ready to take small, meaningful steps a bit later. I'll also mention a very simple mental checklist you can use to see how any rule changes in your state may touch your own situation. It's straightforward and quick. But for now, remember that we've already talked about why this decision matters, how it affects people who are already retired versus those still planning, and why your existing benefits aren't just disappearing. Next, we'll focus on concrete ways to adjust, how to double-check your benefits, and which small steps today can prevent bigger headaches tomorrow. And I'll continue sharing examples of seniors who've taken these steps and now feel more secure. As we go forward, Please keep in mind that knowledge isn't just power, it's peace of mind. Every time you take a few minutes to review your options, ask questions, or read through a statement, you're doing something important to protect yourself and your family. And that's why staying informed and talking with trusted advisors is so valuable at this point. I hope you can sense that while this ruling may have seemed sudden or even intimidating at first glance, it's something you can manage and act on if you stay calm. We've covered a lot today, and I want to pause to acknowledge that just taking the time to watch and learn is a big step toward retirement security. Many people see sensational headlines about court decisions and immediately feel anxious, but you are here listening and engaging. That's exactly the approach that helps keep your retirement steady and even empowering. Think back to Mary and Bob. They were worried when they first heard the news, but once they took a little time to understand what was really happening, reviewed their paperwork, and made thoughtful adjustments, they discovered they had more control than they realized. And you do, too. This is your journey and your financial quilt. And with a bit of attention, you can keep reinforcing it. If you're wondering what to do first, one simple starting point is to review your current retirement accounts, your Social Security statements, and any pension information, and jot down anything that feels unclear, because even 15 minutes spent doing that today can save weeks of worry later. It's like looking over the map before a trip to make sure you understand each turn. Another helpful habit is to keep communication open. Talk with a trusted financial advisor or your state benefits office if questions come up, and don't hesitate to ask. There are no silly questions when it comes to your retirement. Understanding a change before it affects you is a powerful form of protection. I want you to remember that change doesn't automatically mean loss. It usually means adjustment, and adjustment, when approached with clarity and patience, can lead to more stability and confidence. We've taken our time to walk through how this decision may touch different parts of your planning, from Social Security to pensions to state-level programs, so you can see the whole picture. Now imagine yourself at your kitchen table with a cup of tea, calmly going through your statements and recognizing where the new rules might apply, thinking to yourself, I've got this, I know what to do. That feeling of calm control is exactly what we're aiming for. Even though the ruling is nationwide, the details will vary a bit from state to state, which is why your next step should be to check how your state is responding, looking at things like age requirements, contribution rules, and eligibility for specific programs. It can sound tedious, but the peace of mind you gain by knowing exactly where you stand is well worth the effort. Some of you might feel pressure to make immediate decisions, and that's understandable, but my gentle advice is not to rush into major changes without a complete picture. Because this decision is not about removing benefits overnight. It's about how future rules are implemented, so use this time to take small, informed steps and adjust thoughtfully. I know paperwork can feel like a lot, but most of the technical changes link to this. Ruling will be managed automatically, and your benefits won't vanish because you didn't complete a form perfectly. What really matters is periodic review, maybe once a month or every few months, to make sure everything still lines up with your plans. And that modest habit keeps you in control without overwhelming you. And remember, the emotional side of retirement is just as important as the financial side. What we're ultimately talking about is peace of mind, knowing your plans are solid, your income is stable, and you understand the rules well enough to navigate them. By taking a handful of steps now, reviewing statements, noting unclear areas, reaching out to trustworthy sources, you're protecting not only your finances, but also your freedom to spend your time on what you enjoy. So in practical terms, your next moves are simple. First, review your statements. Second, mark anything that doesn't make sense. Third, talk to a trusted advisor or your state office to clarify those points. And fourth, remember that small, timely adjustments can prevent weeks of future worry, giving you a clearer roadmap for a secure, confident, and enjoyable retirement. Most seniors who go through this process feel relieved almost immediately once they understand what changes actually mean and what actions to take. And you can have that same sense of relief by educating yourself and taking a few thoughtful steps before we finish. I want to leave you with this. Retirement is a journey, and every journey has a few bumps and unexpected turns. but with knowledge, preparation, and a calm approach, those bumps remain manageable and those turns become easier to navigate. That's the mindset that will help you handle this Supreme Court decision and any other changes that come along. Stay engaged, keep watching content that's relevant to you, stay informed, and keep talking to people who understand your situation. When you combine knowledge with action, you're not just getting through retirement, you're creating the conditions to truly enjoy it, making each year as comfortable, joyful, and low stress as possible. If this video has been helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you'd hit the like button so I know this content is valuable, and if you'd like to stay updated on developments that can affect your retirement income. Please consider subscribing to Senior Money USA so we can keep walking this path together step by step. Remember, this ruling does not wipe away what you've earned or erase decades of hard work and saving. It gives you a chance to look at your plans with fresh eyes, make adjustments where needed, and keep enjoying your retirement with confidence. You've got this, and I'm here to support you along the way. So take a deep breath, give yourself credit for staying informed, and know that your retirement journey is still safe, manageable, and full of possibilities. Together, we'll keep making sense of changes, protecting what matters, and helping you enjoy every moment of your later years. So stay confident, stay informed, and remember you're not alone. Every step you take now makes the road ahead smoother. Thank you for spending this time with me today, and as we close, keep in mind that small, consistent steps are the real key to a secure retirement. Review, adjust, and stay informed. Your future self will be grateful, and I'll see you in the next video where we'll continue helping you protect and grow your retirement income so you can enjoy every single day with as much peace of mind and confidence as possible.